that type of stuff will happen, either embedded hyperlinks or
how soon are the more interesting ebooks?
Right, the stuff that would make an ebook and not a scan.
Right. I think it's like a whisper away. I think it's, you know, once the new smartphones come out, I mean, I'm thinking by the fall. That's what you know, I've already, like, a lot of people say they can do it, and I've actually seen it on people's iPhones. So I don't think it's far away. I really don't.
Because, for example, if you are looking at a Word document on a Kindle and there's an embedded hyperlink, you can go to the website. Although I haven't seen any books that have.
Right. And for whatever reason, on the Kindle, maybe it's because it's not touchscreen or something, like I just never know what to do with that stick. Like I can't do it. I've seen it, but I don't ever use it on there, versus on an iPhone, I often just push through on something.
With the Mark Twain bundle, you said you weren't really surprised at the relatively low turnout of the ebook purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Why
bundle purchase.
Why weren't you surprised?
Well, it was only available on our site for starters. And in my opinion, it wasn't even that easy to do. It wasn't intuitive and how I would have wanted it to happen. And so because of that, we really didn't promote it very heavily. So I think if I can convince Amazon to do it, then it's taking it to a whole different level. But the music world has already, in a much bigger way, started doing that and started seeing the effectiveness of it. So does that answer that question?
Yeah. Do you also think it has to do with, I'm kind of ignorant as to exactly what it was in the bundle. I mean, what was the electronic product?
Well, we had a couple different combinations. If you bought the hardcover, which was 20% off and free shipping, for $2 more, you could have the ebook with it, and then for $4 more, you could have the audio download.
Okay. Do you also think it's because of an access issue? I mean, a lot of people just don't have a Kindle or iPhone.
But I think it's at that tipping point. I mean, with the Kindle One, and I just saw Bezos's graph was like, it went up hugely when they released the second one. I mean, I'd only seen until the second one Kindle in the real world, meaning outside of publishing. And now I see them like pretty frequently. You know, on the train, on the subway, I see Kindles around. So I do feel like it's hitting that tipping point.
And just kind of a follow-up, you said you went to the Amazon press conference today. How do you think that's going to affect, I mean, do you think that so many newspapers and magazines think it's going to be the savior of them? I mean,
Right.
What do you think?
Well, it's funny because he said that they made a deal with 3 newspapers, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, and the New York Times. It's all very sort of complicated. I kind of think they're doing it all wrong, just personally. I mean, I miss the ads in my New York Times. As crazy as that sounds, like I always go, well, how do I find out like what's playing where? Like, you know, I need to like just look at like all the plays or the ballets. I want that. My mother, who reads on a Kindle, buys the New York Times, the print edition, just so she can see where the sales are. That's crazy. So she's paying $42 a month for the printed edition of the New York Times, and then I think it's $14 a month for the downloaded Kindle version. Like, they could put the ads in there, maybe offer, you know, whoever doesn't want it with the ad, without, you know, you can buy it how you want, customize it, and pay different prices. So, you know, for the Boston Globe, I was thinking, is that going to save the Globe? It does bring them to more eyeballs, but I don't know. And I haven't had time to like fully process that. The only thought that came to me was that the Boston Globe, you know, might get out there more and, you know, have a little more life left in it. So does everybody use search.twitter, or do you guys no? Okay. Well, they just put this, see this little search box right here? You used to have to go to a whole different website and do it, but now you can just type in. So you can type in whatever, your author's name, your publisher, whatever you're interested in. And a lot of times they use hashtags to make it come up more easily. So you can quickly, like while I was in the conference, I could scan down and see the reaction, the live reaction to the Kindle. A lot of people were definitely shocked about the price and feel like that's prohibitive, which I do too. I mean, unless they're going to start giving them out at universities, $489 is kind of a lot for, the average person to shell out just for a reader.
This is the larger, like,
This is-
size,
yeah.
size, right?
Mhm.
Was there any comment about the change in size? It's just been so nice and portable without.
The other one. People seem to like the change in size because you can get the graphs, you get PDFs in it, so it's good for textbooks. And people seem to like the seeing a newspaper like that, right?
Was it any different than the plastic logic device, or was it significantly different?
I don't know. I had to run out of there, so I never got to, and they were having technological difficulties, so I never actually got to go see it myself.
Is it still black and white?
Yes, it's still black and white. And then just, for you guys, here's Tumblr, the back end of Tumblr. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but it's just crazy simple. So, it's literally just push that. It's so easy to do. Like, there's really no reason that, any author in this day and age can't have a blog. Really, really, really simply. And then there's all these templates that look totally professional. Like, you really don't need to know HTML or design or anything. It's like, just pick whatever template you want, click it, if later on you decide you want something more customized, but for the average person, there's hundreds of templates. It's really easy. So I just keep mine really simple. I actually change it all the time. And then here's this reblog function, which, so for instance, this is a really good example. This is Why You're Fat. It started out as a blog, and it just went viral crazy fast, because it was one of these things that you look at that, and you go, and you want to spread it. And so all you have to do is just push that reblog thing. I could add a note or not. And now when I go to my blog, it's on my blog. So it's like, you can get content, it's that easy. Like, I just put up a blog post.
Amazing.
That's easy, right?
Yeah, it's great. Great. We may actually have the guy who started Tumblr here, so.
And let me tell you how, they are so great. It was a Saturday night. I wanted my daughter to start a Tumblr blog on Sunday morning. She was doing this charity with her friends, and the URL was taken. And I thought, well, how could that be? It was like she spelled it very strangely. So I emailed the Tumblr helpline at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I told them the story. Half an hour later, they emailed me back. They CC'd the person who had the URL. It turned out to be my son, but we didn't know that at the time. But, and the guy said to me, he said, well, I've blind copied the person here, and they're not using it, so I imagine they would want to give it back to you. And then he said, and I Googled you, and I saw your other blog, and I started reading it. I'm a Kindle reader, and how personal and fabulous that on a Saturday night. So by Sunday, the whole problem was straightened out. So I just love the Tumblr people.
You talked about making an application at one point, and in terms of exploring
I definitely think the phone is where a lot of it is going to be at, and we need to start thinking of ways to make a viable business out of that, whether it's an individual app or whether it's like Stanza or Kindle and your library lives in there. But no question to me, you can go to these rural places in the middle of nowhere and people have cell phones. So it's like, I've heard, studies, people say that, nobody forgets their phone. You might forget your keys, but you don't forget your phone, ever. So, I don't necessarily, it's not my first choice place to read, but I'm one of these people, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are, like, the thought of being someplace stuck without something to read, like whether it's waiting for an elevator or in a grocery line or something, like it's just torture. So now I don't have to have a manuscript or this or that. I can just have an iPhone or my BlackBerry or something, and I always have it with me. It's like a very comforting feeling.